So if you've been on like MMA Twitter as of late, you've probably seen this rumor that's been going around that Sean Strickland versus Kamaru Usman is being finalized for UFC 302 at New Jersey. And I don't know if this is going to happen, to be frank with you. However, I do have a pretty strong feeling it is going to happen. I've heard a lot of leaks coming from Adesanya's team, Dricus's team, and honestly, this Strickland fight's looking pretty likely. Because the state of middleweight, like you can tell when a fight looks legit when everybody gets something out of this. Strickland doesn't have to fight a middleweight contender that is a risky fight in the middleweight division. Kamaru Usman now isn't going to be fighting at welterweight anymore, and now is going to be trying to make middleweight his home. If he can get a win over Strickland here, he is right into that title picture, right behind Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker. Oh, and Jared Cannonier, rip. Yeah, I have no clue what Jared Cannonier is doing right now. But right now, the middleweight division looks a little something like this. Dricus du Plessis is going to fight Israel Adesanya next. The UFC has set everything up to be that way. Strickland is not going to get the rematch. I thought maybe that was something that was going to happen, especially because UFC got moved over to Perth instead of Africa. But I think they're just weighing their options here, and they're seeing the Dricus versus Israel fight, and they're viewing that as a good Perth main event, and it just costs too much resources to go to Africa. Now, the number one contender is reportedly going to be the winner of Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker. The only reason I'm saying reportedly instead of outright confirmed is if Robert Whittaker beats Khamzat Chimaev, I can see a scenario where they're going to ask somebody else to do it. Like, spoiler alert, when the UFC says number one contenders match, sometimes that means if the guy they want to win wins. If the guy they really don't want to win wins, then, oh, well, all of a sudden it's not a number one contenders match. So where does that leave Strickland? Strickland's in an area where his two possible opponents is Jared Cannonier and the winner of Chris Curtis and Brennan Allen? Maybe he fights Imavov again. Like, you see what I'm saying. That's not really meaning anything, especially if Chris Curtis does beat Brennan Allen, and I am picking Chris Curtis to beat Brennan Allen. Then Chris Curtis isn't going to fight Strickland. They're homeboys. So, what's going on with Strickland? Let me tell you what I think happened. I think they say no to Strickland possibly getting a rematch, or they don't even say anything to him, and they just assume it. Strickland gets some time off. He's made pretty good money, I estimate. I'm going to probably say $1.5 million from the Israel Adesanya fight plus the Dricus fight, because one of those was on short notice. And Kamaru Usman got a little taste of middleweight against Khamzat Chimaev, and he did better than a lot of people thought. On 10 days' notice, I must remind you. So Kamaru Usman is probably weighing out his options here. Do I want to go back down to welterweight and possibly hurt my legacy there? Kamaru Usman, I'm just going to say it because I've already made a video about this. Kamaru Usman is currently the second best welterweight of all time, but in Dana White's eyes, he is the GOAT of middleweight, undisputed. Whatever, Dana. So, I'm thinking for Kamaru Usman, what's the point in going back down the welterweight when you already have a legacy there? You're not going to beat Leon Edwards. I frankly think you're going to have a hard time against Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that's the only other fight you can make. They're keeping him as the number one contender because Ali Abdelaziz is his manager, and Ali can pull some strings. And Ali's going to come into this again, because Ali also manages Abbas Magomedov. You remember the guy that fought Strickland on his debut, despite Strickland being a ranked opponent and Abbas Magomedov not having a single significant win in the entirety of his professional and amateur career? Yeah, no, that guy got a debut against a ranked opponent in Strickland. Like, I'm so surprised we just brush over how crazy that is. That is Ali Abdelaziz. Only Ali can get that done. And Strickland goes on, I believe he went on the JRE, and that's why he has beef with Ali Abdelaziz, as he was talking about how the only reason that fight got made is because Ali thought that Abbas Magomedov, or it was either Abbas Magomedov or Marvin Vettori, both are under Ali, thought that they looked good against him, like Marvin Vettori was probably getting better of Strickland in some of the wrestling. So that's why the strings were pulled for that match. Whatever. Okay. It worked out in the end. I mean, Abbas Magomedov was one of the few people to get finished by Strickland, so I'm sure that debut went well. So, guess who? Kamaru Usman is being under Ali Abdelaziz. Weighs out his options, doesn't want to go back down the welterweight, wants to stay at middleweight. I think this is the right call. However, I can't stress this enough. Kamaru Usman versus Strickland is good for everybody that's involved. Strickland doesn't have to fight Jared Cannonier as another fight night main event, because I'm telling you, that's what it would be. He doesn't have to wait for the winner of Chris Curtis and Brendan Allen to maybe fight. And he gets a big money name in Kamaru Usman for a rematch that, I'm just going to say it right now, I think Strickland wins fairly easily. That is probably going to be the hot take of my entire video. Feel free to try to say no to that in the comment section down below. I'm aware that they fought the first time, and Kamaru Usman was out-striking and out-grappling Strickland. I am aware of that. However, this was before Strickland got into the motorcycle accident that caused him to be his current incarnation. This was before Strickland kind of came into his own as not just a striker, but as an MMA fighter. Now, whether you like Strickland or not, you can't deny that he has probably one of the most, I don't even know if I want to call it unorthodox. Yeah, I'll call it unorthodox. The most unorthodox but effective styles of striking I've seen in a while. I'm not saying he's better than this guy, better than that guy. No, he just looks frustrating to hit. This is a guy who, whether you like it or not, outstruck Israel Adesanya and beat him in a 5-round fight as the challenger against the champion. There is no amount of rewriting the history books for the UFC to somehow spin Strickland outstriking Israel Adesanya as anything other than just being crazy. I'm still in denial of that. Kamaru Usman, as much as I like the guy, in his prime, he was a monster. Good wrestling background, had crazy power, training with Team Elevation, amazing endurance. We saw that in the first Leon Edwards fight, and the fact that he was able to outdog Colby Covington in the first fight. I know it was a weird finish, but that's not my beef I'm going to get into. But Kamaru Usman had all the makings of a great champion at the time. Great cardio, good power, decent striking, I guess, but good anti-wrestling, and in some cases, good wrestling early in his title run. But now, Kamaru Usman, yes, is good. His knees are gone. His striking, I don't think the power of Kamaru Usman is going to be as impressive at middleweight. I know it's not going to be as impressive because there's just no way that it's going to be. And he's fighting against Strickland. I don't see a scenario where Kamaru Usman is going to be able to outstrike Strickland. Let's be real here. If you think Kamaru Usman's going to beat Sean Strickland, you don't think he's going to outstrike him. You must think that he's going to win a decision. Because Dricus was able to take down Strickland because Dricus at least has the other half of his body that's operational. When was the last time you saw Kamaru Usman offensively wrestle as much as Dricus? Dricus is a good offensive wrestler. Kamaru Usman is more defensive. Strickland's not going to suit for a takedown. He's not going to give him that chance. Kamaru Usman also is able to use his physicality to get somebody up to the cage and get the damage he needs to win there, gets the control time he needs to get. And he's not going to do that with somebody like Strickland, who is a big dude. The last person that I can think about that was able to, I don't even want to say consistently, because even Dricus had trouble. And that was a 5-round fight. Here's the other problem. If this fight happens, if Ali is going to do his job as a manager, you need to advocate for this fight to be a 5-round fight, not as the main event. Kamaru Usman versus Strickland, unless Ali pulls some strings and they do a Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, this is going to be a 3-round fight. And I don't care what you think. Strickland wins a 3-round fight against Kamaru Usman 8 to 9 out of 10 times. He just does. The only way that Kamaru Usman wins this is if this is a 5-round fight, and even then, I would say he wins 4 out of 10 times. I favor Strickland here. And the only reason that I'm really making this video is This is looking more and more likely now that I look at the UFC 302 card. They need a good name on there. Strickland, whether you like it or not, can bring in pay-per-views. I don't honestly understand how, but it is what it is. Him versus Kamaru Usman is a fight that makes all parties involved happy. Ali Abdelaziz is happy. Dana's happy. Strickland's happy, and Usman's happy. The fight, I believe, is going to happen, and I believe it's probably going to be the co-main event, and they're going to try to make it a 5-round fight. And I hope they do, because win or lose, this is going to be said. If Kamaru Usman beats Strickland, Kamaru Usman is in the running to fight for the middleweight title, which is crazy. But if Strickland beats Kamaru Usman, well, he gets paid, and he's in that weird title picture, unless they want to make him fight Jared Cannonier. I just wanted to talk about this fight rumor really quick. Who do you think's going to win? Son Strickland or Kamaru Usman? I'm picking Strickland to win this one by a pretty handed decision, maybe even a TKO. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all next time. Adios, guys.